So I just have a mission moment about Pamela. The other night, we have this tech that has a difficult time on all the floors. And we had talked about her a little bit before her shift. And then I woke up and I had an email about, I think we can make this better for her. I think we just need to talk about it and what we can do. And I think if her self-esteem is just a little higher, that she'll be successful. And so we sat down and we talked about it and we made a whole plan. And I was just really impressed. You know, we're reading this book about being in and out of the box, and Pamela was out of the box for sure in her care of this tech. I mean, she could just have said, "Oh, those Star Techs, they're the worst." I know other people in this room sometimes say that. It's just Megan. But she didn't. She just looked and found out, and by talking about it, we came up with a plan to make her successful. So I just was really impressed. So thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
Especially because she didn't make the first of your night very easy.
She did not.
And you still
She did not.
took time to talk to her, and we're totally out of the box. So. All right. So that brings us to our leadership activity perfectly. We've been reading Leadership and Self-Deception. Were we reading to page 75? Is that where we were at too? Do you remember? Mm-hmm.
I didn't bring my still on yours.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
74 technically.
74? Okay, perfect. You want to start, Lee?
Just like with any thoughts and feelings kind of thing?
Yep. Anything you learned?
Yeah, I've got a lot of scribbles. First of all, has anybody seen Baby Boss 1 and Baby Boss 2? Baby Boss is like the old business like diagram, whatever, paradigm, and Baby Boss 2 is like this stuff. So anyway, it was really funny because we were watching it today, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the new era of like business models.
Oh, okay.
I thought there was one. So I don't know. I got a lot of scribbles, but so I want to say two things. One is on page 41. I felt like he kind of said the quiet part out loud, where he said, Bud was talking to, what's his name? The one that's in the box in the beginning, the main character. Ted? Tom. Bud's talking to Tom and says, we don't know how much smarter people are, how much more skilled people get, and how much hardworking people work when they see and are seen straightforwardly as people. And on one hand you could see that as like, oh, so there's the quiet part out loud, like you're manipulating nurses to feel, to do the same stuff for the same wages and feel good about it, which we can't help feeling that way sometimes. It's true, but on the other hand, it's like, what's better? Like I do appreciate us all trying to see each other, and it's like it is just a trying all the time to do it. And I liked this part here on page 42 when you said, I nodded, amazed that someone in Bud's position would worry about knowing the name of someone who is at Joyce's level in the company. And I feel like I try to do that in terms of like acknowledging EVS in the hallway, because at night I see them all the time. Or I remember when my old hospital did like a blessing hands thing where they like acknowledge the hands of the people that sanitize the equipment down in the OR. We never see them, but they're like an integral part of the works and such. And so I just like that part of this, where it's like every person as a person. It's like all the wheels and cogs.
I love that. I love it, and I hope you know that it's never ever manipulation.
Yeah, but I mean, hasn't that ever felt like that for some people? Like,
it does,
you're a leader, you get to do more. Like,
If you feel that way, then that person's probably in the box.
The person being asked to do more?
No, the person telling you that.
Okay, well, here, I'll give you an example.
They're probably not asking
When
you as
I went
a
from
person.
floor nurse to charge nurse, it was $1 more an hour, and it was so much more work. But it was all this feel-good leadership stuff. So there's an example where like sometimes it feels like it's being used manipulatively, but that also is just business models and in the box thinking, and I don't know, where it fits in. But am I the only one that's felt this way ever?
But again,
Yes?
that person that was talking
No,
to you
okay.
and telling you that was
No, I'm saying
probably in the box, like they weren't saying what they were telling you about the Feel Good Leadership stuff.
Oh, that.
Seeing you as a person and your needs.
I see what
You know
you're
what I
saying.
mean?
Right.
Or you wouldn't have felt
Well,
that way.
there is a lot of fake it till you make it. There is a lot of like some managers that not mine currently in the past. So I adore my manager. Some managers in the past, it feels a bit rote. It can, and they're just trying. You know,
Yeah.
they've been taught, they've read this book, they did conscious communications. They're trying to be out of the box, but sometimes you can just like.
But if
it
it's
makes,
not real, it's not real, and you know
yeah, but
it.
also I could be in the box hearing it too, thinking,
Yeah.
oh, it's just, you know, like, is this authentic? And and it doesn't make anything any easier.
Yeah.
So, but
No, that's good.
I think overall,
Kind of makes you realize presentation is everything, right?
well, yeah, like you
How
said
would
too,
you-
like what you say, it's not
everything
just
you
what you
present.
say, it's how you say it, right? The behavior.
Yeah, keep expounding on that, Susan. Why do you say that?
I don't, people are gonna take it how you present it, so you have to be cautious, right? Are we trying to be cautious?
I think
Or
it's
be thoughtful?
And I think it's even deeper than that. Like they'll take it as, like you kind of just know people's motives, right? You kind of know their intent, even if they're trying to hide it. But yeah, the way you present it, it shows your inner feelings about it.
There was a part where he was saying that how you really feel was gonna show. Cause he was like, it was when they got in the fight about the dishes, and he was like, I gotta go, never mind, I'm sorry. She's like, you don't mean it.
Yeah, and you know that when your husband doesn't mean it, and then you're in the box with him, and yep.
But he could have given her a bigger kiss. That would have changed everything, right? Remember,
gonna
this is a
slap
past-
in
It's
the
really
face.
hard to fake a kiss, that's true.
What other thoughts did you guys have when you were reading it?
You can't video me. No. Mine was when he was talking about he was asleep and his wife was asleep and the baby started crying. And he was talking about that initial pang where I should get up and go take care of it. That's the one that you're just like, you get that, you have that initial thought and then you make excuses for why you shouldn't go help or go do something, you know? And so, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, I just don't know how many times a day that happens to me. And so after reading this, I was like, I have got to stop that. Like, as soon as I have that thought, I need to just go do it and not make an excuse why it's not my job or why it's not my turn or, yeah.
Yeah, because as soon as you make that excuse, you're jumping in the box. Yeah.
And we brought a box for Leaf to jump into.
You want to jump in the box, Lee?
If you're being serious, I will.
I just did it because you wrote on the groupie. The box! But you can really have that box. What other thoughts do you guys have?
I hate that noise.
That gives you anxiety.
We're all triggered.
How about you, Pamela?
I'm just enjoying listening to this conversation you guys are having about this. I feel like I have to think outside the box every day I'm here, you know, because we can't do anything by the same way every time we're here. I mean, it's outside the box every day.
Yeah. Yeah, and outside the box thinking is a little bit different than what they're meaning in the box here, but
Right.
sometimes it is completely different than what everyone's been doing.
Right,
Yeah.
you have to, yeah, your leadership has to be, you know.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Lindsay, did you have any thoughts?
No, I haven't read it yet, but if there's kissing scenes and whatnot, then you know, I'm missing out.
It's almost like Shades of Grey.
No, it's
I was like, what kind of good did I get from work? I'll do the next program.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
I love it, and we're just getting started with it, so I know you guys are gonna love it more and more. But the one main takeaway in this first part is I really love. He talked about the airplane, right? The people on the airplane.
Not giving the seat up.
Yeah, how they did the exact same behaviors, but they did it in a different way and it had a completely different outcome on whether you're in the box or not. And just being in the box is when you're not treating people like people, and when you're out of it, you're treating them like people. So Chase brings me out of the box all the time because he'll be like, oh, that person in the ER died, and I'm like, oh good, you know, like they're not going to the ICU, like that's so horrible. And he'll be like, actually, Megan, that's not good, like there's someone's mom, and like it's good because I was seeing them as an object and a number coming to the ICU, and he'll tell me stuff like that all the time.
The
And I
9-year-old
really
probably
appreciate it.
You were saving them bills though too, right?
Yes.
You were worried about their
You know, I
financial
was
situation.
worried about just them the whole time, but not at all. And then when Diane started telling me the situation about the Star Tech, I was totally in the box with the Star Tech too. I was like, oh my goodness, because they give you guys so much trouble sometimes. And I'm not gonna sit here and anyway. But then Diane kept telling her story, and Diane had called that person and was like, this is why I hired you, because you're this thing. And like Dan was totally out of the box about her, and then Pamela was totally out of the box about her, and so anyway, you guys are great examples. So just treat people.
I found that quote actually real quick. Can I read it?
Mm-hmm.
On 44, it said, if you do what might be on this, about like how you present something, like how the same content could be perceived differently if you're saying it in or out of the box. And if you do what might on the surface be considered the right thing, but do it while in the box, you'll invite an entirely different and less productive response than you would if you were out of the box. Remember, people primarily respond not to what we do, but to how we're being, whether we're in or out of the box towards them. That kind of sums up the whole book. I think we're done.
You think so?
No,
we have
no, I
6
know.
more times to read it to beat Mike Hale.
Tom probably thinks he's done too.
Okay.
That's true.
You
6
guys
more
are
times
awesome.
to beat my house.
I love this. I love book club. It's awesome. Okay, so this next time, for the next 2 weeks, let's read to page 118, to part 3. Can we do that? It's not too much more, right?
It's a super easy read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That was mine. Pamela, want to do your 5 minutes? Your
Yes,
lesson
and I
plan?
actually talked to David about this today because of my frustration with the transfer center. Because we had a big to-do this weekend, and basically they lied to me, and David actually went and listened to the all the recordings, and it was very deceitful. And they have gotten more and more deceitful about what they're telling us. And so I was talking to David about it, and so we're gonna try to ask more questions. For instance, like the other night they called me and they had a patient that said neurosurgeon going to IMC for head bleed. And I immediately said, IMC is not neurosurgery head bleed. And so she says, I'll call back. Immediately she called back, no, it's neurology to IMC and it's observation. I says, no, neurology observation is not a head bleed, and they aren't observation. So then she said, oh, they don't have a bed. And so we need to start questioning them more about what they're really doing and what they're sending us and what they're really telling us. The other night, Chase had one come from Rock Springs. They asked for ICU. Then when he said no, they switched to IMC, but when the patient got here, they were truly an ICU patient on too much dopamine, but they went to IMC anyway, and we had to decrease the dopamine to keep them there. And so they're being kind of, and I told David, I don't know if it's the hospital or if it's the transfer center, but we need to be asking more questions about why you're sending them. Last night we had one, Brigham City called, they told me, need to come and they need urology. And they failed outpatient antibiotics.
Sounds fair.
So I brought them, well, when they called Dr. Colson, they tried 2 rounds of antibiotics, one the night before and one last week. And urology had already said, no, urology can't do anything. It's a scrotal cellulitis. No, they weren't gonna do anything. So there was no reason the patient needed to come to us. They should have stayed in Brigham City, antibiotics. And so they're just we need to, start asking. The one from Missoula that was kind of a mess, wasn't inpatient, David told me today that we do not have to accept inpatient transfers. We can say no if we're questioning anything at all about them.
Yeah, cause you're not
That is
breaking
not an
EMTALA.
EMTALA anything if they're already inpatient. So, just ask more questions if there's something seriously that's going on that you feel like was a definitely deceit. Make sure you write it up for David, and we're gonna kind of just start watching this and see if we can do something to kind of correct how this is happening.
I was the one on that call that said, I don't think they need ICU. I said, I can probably do IMC.
Yeah.
Let me double check, and I made her call back 3 times and ask them questions. And then she called me back, well, they're on 6 of dopamine and we're titrating down. Okay, so they'll be at 4 when he gets here. And then I went over and I listened to the doctor give report to Katula. And she's like, yeah, he's on 6, we're titrating down to 4, he's doing great. And Katula says, leave him on 6 for transport. And then when we got here, we were gonna put him on down.
Yeah.
But then,
He's on 15 when he gets here. I mean, so we have to ask more questions
Maybe the
about what's
doctors
really.
I feel like more questions wouldn't have changed the urology or the dopamine
Right.
situation.
But the other thing David suggested is maybe having, before we make any decisions, having them call and talk to the doctor. And like last
The ER
night, I should
doctor
have him call
or
and talk to
hospitalist?
Folsom first,
Folsom.
and then
Yeah.
decide if we're gonna take it. Or with his, he did call and talk to
Yeah, you can do
Katula,
that.
wasn't it?
yeah, I tried to listen to her
before
tell
they
Katula.
accepted it, and have the hospitalist get a kind of a report and see if they really think it's something we should be taking, or if the level of care is gonna be what they're actually telling us. Because a lot of times they'll say, oh yeah, med surg, but then they end up going to IMC, or IMC, but they go to ICU, and it's just really difficult, cause they're not giving us straight, information.
Yeah, I tell the ER docs a lot I tell them, hey, I accepted a transfer for this level of care. Tell me if you think it's otherwise, and tell them not to send it and call me back.
So, and they have done that a little bit, is they'll do it and then they'll say no or something, so. Get the doctors involved if you.
Because they're not used to being allowed to do that. They weren't gatekeepers.
Because
before.
it's always been auto accept,
Yeah.
and now it's,
The hospitalists are super willing also.
yeah,
They
to
do that.
just talk to them and
Yeah.
just make sure we're getting proper information. And like I told David, I don't know if it's actually a transfer center, or if it's the hospitals, just trying to move their
Yeah.
patients out and don't want them, and.
Maybe a little both.
Yeah, but it was funny, the other night I said no to one, and then I said, but in an hour, if the ER cleans out, I might have room for him, and I'll call you back. By the time I called him back, oh, we found a bed here anyway, in their own hospital, so,
Yeah, you're like, maybe I need to give you some time.
yeah, so I said, let me empty our ER first, and then I'll decide.
I even had the, transfer center call for somebody from Lakeview. And so I thought, okay, I'm good. I just called the Lakeview, house soup. And they were did not know anything about the patient. They could take their own, take that patient.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I don't know, there've been some frustrations that day with their own ERs, so I thought that was kinda interesting. I hadn't had that happen before, but
That's a good idea.
It's
to
a
try to call
crazy-
their house soup
it's
too.
a crazy situation. Right.
We had to call St. Mark's house soup that one day too, cause the transfer center couldn't make that happen for an LVO patient. Yeah. You guys are doing a great job.
Well, the other night they tried to ship me something from St. Mark's, and so the transfer center called their AOC and woke him up and said, now they're trying to transfer one out of your hospital, are you sure you want to transfer him to Ogden from you? And he said, oh, absolutely. About 15 minutes later, they called back and said, oh, they changed their mind, they're gonna keep the patient. So,
Those are good calls.
I don't know why St. Mark's would send one to us,
Yeah,
where
that's
they're
weird.
kind of a higher level of care, I
Mhm.
mean, all around, kind of, but.
Okay, thanks. No, that's really good. Yeah, make sure that you're sending all the problems you have with the transfer center, so we can keep addressing them. So, Did it get better for a little bit? Because we did have a meeting with them actually when you guys were sending me emails like every week. We had a meeting with them. It was like probably 2 or so months ago now though. Did it get better for a minute?
Got better for a minute, but I think all the hospitals are just wanting to get
Yeah.
rid of their patients, that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's the transfer center anymore, I think it's the hospitals just
Trying.
not being honest completely with them either,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, they're not there. Alright, new business. Diane, you wanna talk about holiday blocks?
So PPC, what?
Professional practice.
Professional Practice Council, that's, David wanted them to try to do holiday blocks and have everybody be on the same page, because it's hard for somebody in one department to be different than another department, and so they want us all to go to holiday blocks. So next year, we're gonna go to holiday blocks. We'll have 3, and then, it's A, B, and C, and so whatever holiday you're on, you'll work that holiday. You can trade if you want, and then, if you work Christmas this year, you won't work it again for another 3 years. So,
So how are they gonna do that when everybody's blocks are so different?
So
Like,
we
as in-
standardized the blocks.
they standardize.
We standardized the
Yeah.
blocks.
Because like Family Birthplace, they have Halloween on theirs, because everybody wants to be out for their kids, and they have just random,
Yeah,
ones
so-
off that nobody else does because they're not truly holidays.
We should have
The
Halloween on
major
ours.
blocks,
we do.
the
Oh, good.
major holidays are all standardized. Yeah.
and we have Halloween on ours too, because again, sometimes, we have the minor ones and the major ones. We have a list also of the ones that are covered and not covered, for this next year, and so,
There's a big issue right now, and a lot of people are upset because not everybody works their blocks. And so that needs to be addressed before we go to standardized blocks.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do not want to work their holidays, they don't work their weekends, and it's a big, big source of contention.
Dave is gonna talk about it in NEC on Thursday, so.
Because if you look at some of the schedules, nobody works their holiday, but they'll work a Sunday here and a Friday over here, and they say they've worked their weekends. And so just talking about a schedule in any way of what's required is a big source of,
But we're talking about right now.
I know,
house
but I'm
soups.
talking about the holidays, and so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
gonna
the
have
house
to be
soups are gonna
really,
do a holiday block going forward.
yeah,
So it's fair.
specific, so that it's,
Yeah.
you know, so when he talks about it, just make sure he talks about it.
Yeah, I think he even is aware of all those things. Cause yeah, it needs to, well, we need to have days evened out, we can't have a 5 and a 2 and the next day you have 2 and the day before you have 5 and,
Right.
yeah. So he might even implement a meeting where the schedule, before the schedule gets posted, that we all have to review it with them and stuff. So, which
Yeah.
probably needs to happen for a while,
I'll skip it summer.
but yeah. So maybe, do you already have the holiday blocks already for house
yeah,
soups?
we got them all
Put them
ready.
together.
Mhm. Yep,
So maybe we
so-
just post them in the house soup office.
Yep.
But you guys can get it covered by, like, it doesn't matter, but it's just that holiday's your responsibility that year, so. Yeah. Okay, this is the big thing that we want to talk about today. So roles of the house supervisor that we talked about, having 2 different roles. Like the, office house supervisor and the resource house supervisor. St. Mark's calls in the house supervisor and the bed board. We can do that, it doesn't matter. So Diane and I went to St. Mark's last Thursday and we shadowed their house supervisors. And so they have 2 house supervisors on every day for 12 hours. Both of them are there for 12 hours. One comes from 7 to 7, one comes from 8 to 8. The one does, they call them bed board. And what they're doing, like we were worried that the roles might be a little confusing, but it really wasn't at all once you watched it. So like they're looking at staffing, they're getting staffing sheets ready, they're getting all the beds, trying to make assignments. When there is an admit, they'll be the ones to like put it into the bed. But of course the house soup and the bed board are talking like all day long, the whole entire time. But the house soup, the resource one, is out on the floors, doing codes. This won't change night shift, as you guys know. you know, doing codes, responding, down in the ER, super visible all the time. You're getting certain calls as a house supervisor, like all the random calls, like I need this, how do I troubleshoot this, blah blah blah. And the bed board house soup is getting calls from the transfer center, so you're not on the phone with the transfer center all day, as the house supervisor, the resource house soup. So it actually, the roles, like, when they did it, it was like, oh, those are two different jobs. Like, it was just so nice that they didn't get interrupted when they were like in the middle of staffing to go take someone masks or something, you know? And so, this is our proposal, because we were only gonna have 5 8s, you guys remember that? And so I talked to Mike and David and Linda today, cause it just isn't gonna work to do 8-hour shifts. I feel like we really need 12s also, but we only have enough to do 5 12s. So this is our proposal. I want to show you guys. You can tell me what you think. So of course, Sunday through Saturday, every day we'll have a house soup from 6 to 6. Monday through Friday, we'll have an additional house soup 7 to 7. Especially, we were gonna do some weekends, but because it's a lot of input and those kinds of things, I think it'll be better Monday through Friday, but if you guys disagree, that's completely fine. For right now, we're only approved to have 5 12s for this second house soup. So then if we do it this way, we'd have 4 full-time day shift people. So Susan Chase, this is open to replace Summer. And then an additional one open that we just got approved today. So that's 12 shifts, because we need 7 shifts for the house soup, 5 shifts for the bed board house soup, so that's 12 shifts in a week. And the thing that is gonna change is they say, like, so they just switch that role. Like, so one day they're the bed board house soup, the next day they're the house soup, the resource house soup, and it works so well because then they know they just communicated so well because they do each other's jobs so well because it's their same job, you know what I mean? And so our day shift people would switch between roles. So like there they do 2 days bed board, 1 day house soup, 2 days house soup, 1 day bed board. You guys can do it however you want, whatever. So you switch roles as day shift, and then night shift. We're looking. Mike said maybe you can get a part-time approved. That's what I want to do. But right now, that and fill in with Lauren and Brittany and stuff. So.
And Jamila.
And Jamila, yeah. Okay, tell me your thoughts.
Well, my thought is, I work as hard, and I'm gonna be by myself, and then there's gonna be 2 doing the same thing I do, but I do twice as much. I mean, I'm not saying twice as much, but like I'm dietary at night, I'm PPE runner, I'm materials management, I add all these things on top of what I'm doing. I'm still, where all these other people are having during the day, so,
I'll tell you, to back that up, side comment, when Teresa Luna is working, I use her as a resource so much, and not so much, but I'll be like, hey, come get a sandwich tray for me because I can't leave the desk, or hey, ER needs a pair of crutches, would you run that down for me? And it's not really fair, I mean, meds are just super busy, but like,
I do that too,
I
but
praise
I'm
her
off the
up and down, like
floors.
if I have somebody that's willing to help me, like I will use it. Here and there for odd little things, even if it's just a CNA or something, but.
I do too, but
So I
they're
feel you for
busy.
sure, like the whole sandwich tray thing in the ER all the time, and the mask thing, and the TPN at all hours, like, not everybody, like, tube feeding, it'd be nice if everybody was like, okay, there's 2 times in the night that I will do tube feeding runs, and everybody gets on board with it, but like, okay, this patient needs tube feeding, and I'm the only one that can access it, or the only one that knows, like Summer, you and I talk about how a lot of people can get this stuff themselves, like CBI fluids, they can go get that themselves, they just don't know how. And so it's my job to find a cart, get a sticker, call an OR, get it up to the OR.
Yeah, but
get
we're not
the
supposed to
CBI.
get that from the OR.
No, they're out. Sometimes on MedSearch there's like 4
I know, but
CBIs running
we're
at the
supposed
same
to go
time.
downstairs, we're not supposed to
But
get
I
it
can't
from-
go into the central sterile. It's sterile.
You go to materials.
Maybe if we had a checklist of things that we need to mark off
You
during the
can
day.
go into
that might
materials.
You might as well.
You can show me where, but
Okay,
it works
yeah.
for me to have this.
So,
Yeah.
Trace, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you've been doing nights and days.
Yeah.
So can you weigh in on this a little bit?
I
gonna help me, like, it's super helpful for most of the time.
Yeah. Does it calm down after like midnight or anything like that?
Depends
Like,
how
is it
many
mostly the
codes and
first-
stuff, really, I mean, I can catch up on things around, after 10 or 2.
Mhm.
I get out on time for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is good for days.
Yes,
We
it
can
is.
stay
I know, I
focused
don't
on
wanna
this
be
right now.
unfair tonight.
No, we got to stay a little piece, with a little perspective on what it's like on nights, Chase went into.
Well, and like
We can
Susan
keep
said-
focusing on
We got
days.
9 to
Yeah.
10.
And like
Yeah,
Susan said,
But then if you're
In
asleep
all
the next
the-
day, you're at 6. We
Yeah.
actually, I wanted to do that. 8 to 8 or 9 to 9.
So are they gonna have
Kill
one
you
of them
guys.
specifically for their meetings?
Yeah,
they do a
so
lot of-
the bed board, the office house suite will runs the staffing meetings too.
Cause don't they, isn't there 4 of them during the day, 3 or 4?
Yeah, the other house suite would go to like.
It is about 4.
Well, the
You
one in the
guys
social work
can
office.
figure it out, but
and
Yeah.
the house suite would
And the
go
one
to the social work
in
one.
PT
They could
office.
also go to ICU rounds for a little bit.
and then ones they have on med surge that we haven't been doing because we
Yeah.
just can't get to them.
Cause you can't, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys could come to safety huddle if you wanted also now, cause you could have time to go to all the meetings. But like Susan said, like maybe there's some things that, because there's 2 house soups, the resource house soup can make sure it's done before we leave, like sandwiches stocked, or you know, things like
And
that.
all units.
So you guys don't have to
That
do that at
alone
night.
would help
Yeah.
a ton. 2 feed and
Well,
sandwiches, seriously.
But the sandwich thing, they took away from the units and put in our
Yeah,
office,
they're all
cause it was
in
too much of a
House soup
waste.
office. Yeah.
And they were keeping them on the units and then they were getting wasted, so that they put them in our office so that they weren't expiring.
Pamela and I feel safe, I don't know how you feel about it, are we okay to keep the door unlocked so people can come into the office and grab a sandwich themselves, because we're rarely in the office?
Well,
What's
I
in
know,
there
but
that we
personal
keep it
belongings
locked
are in
for?
there and,
Personal belongings, that's what I'm saying, if we had felt safe, if we had a locker with a lock, that
Yeah,
could be
there's like
amazing.
no files in there or anything, right?
and that's why we started to, cause it used to, you know, when Debbie was in there, all that stuff was in there, but
Yeah, there's no employee files or,
not
yeah, so
now.
if you're fine with it. you can keep
Cause
it.
if our fridge is stocked with sandwiches and I say send your CNA to my office and go
Yeah.
grab one, that's great.
Yeah, and we don't have all that PPE in there anymore, and you're not worried about people coming and stealing a box of N95s anymore or anything, right?
They do it during the day.
Yeah.
I do come back and I'm like, I have 2 boxes here.
I probably let him in, sorry.
Oh, no, cause I didn't even lock.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so just this last week,
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, can't have a lock, and
But I
it's like,
won't
you can
unless,
have a
you
lock.
know, I have something to lock my purse up and, you know, stuff like
And we
that.
have the float pool lockers. So right now we only have 10, but I haven't been in there yet that there has been a time that all the lockers are used and they have locks on them.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna be getting a whole bunch more, and so there should always be, if you wanna put your purse in there, you always can.
I
And
wonder if
lock
we
it
could
up.
get a lock on the
Yeah, we
desk
could,
drawer.
yeah, we could get a lock on the desk drawer, cause it already has a spot for it.
Yeah.
So we could do that
Lock
too.
the person
We
there.
just,
Desk drawer, there's a lock on it?
uh-huh, on the side.
Yeah, first drawer. Chase will be happy with that.
We, like, what do you guys think? My additional proposal was 8 to 8, but then if you work house soup the next day, you're gonna be here at 6 and you might not leave till 8:30. Is that too much?
I don't know, 6, 6, and 7, 7, but
You know,
Is
the
that
thing is,
effective?
it's, well, from, at 6, there's just so much going on at 7, you know, so.
But yeah, we
the-
can do a lot of things to help set you up for success at night shift. Start the soft too, those kinds of things. They were both updating the soft throughout the day.
Both of them were.
They would just close it out and then, you know, the other would open it and
Mhm.
That's
yeah,
good.
so it was nice. They made it so much smoother and I felt like you guys have been worked so hard. Like it was just so nice to have more help. But if you guys still feel like you're drowning on night after we try to.
No, but
maybe
this
help
isn't
with
a good
some
idea
things.
though, like Pamela, there's some things that we could ask, cause like the whole setting us up for success thing, like you're gonna be way more organized, staffing's gonna, everybody's gonna know where they're going, it's less interruptions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Fridge is
and-
stocked.
If maybe that second person could do, you know, things that are very hard to get done at night. The crash carts are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so half
Absolutely.
the time I leave them because I don't have time to even
Yeah.
get to them. You know, at least there's drawers in the, wherever they need to be, but, you know,
Yeah.
they're sitting there.
Well, right now, how it is, day shift doesn't have time when there's codes to do the crash cards, and I'm like, well, I'll do it at some point in my rounds, that's fine. It just, and so then that will get be done, and I won't
Yeah.
have that to do.
But there's been times when everybody's been so busy that they've, drawers have sat there for 2 and 3 days.
Right.
Because nobody's had a chance to even, you know,
Yeah,
get to it, so.
Yeah.
What time would the resource, or the, what is it, the floor house soup, is that what you call it?
Yeah, I like that floor house soup. It'd be 6 to 6, like
So
now.
the floor house soup would be hitting
So
around
they come
6.
relieve night shift normal, like
Okay.
shift wouldn't change.
But. Well, I do that, well, I can pass it out when I go around and finalize everybody's
Pass out what?
staffing, so I do it
I don't know
at
if
the
I'm
same
being
time.
too greedy,
The code sheet?
the code sheet.
But like I say, I do it when I go around at 3 and finalize and take the, and
Staffing, yeah.
knitting census thing and, you know, so I have a,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, but that's not every unit, you don't have to do that on family birth, or NICU,
Right,
or
so-
PEDS, or BHU, or ACT, or ER, like, that would cut out a ton, but that's for later, let's keep talking.
Yeah, no, I
details.
think that will help. I like this.
If the crash
discussion.
cards was done
Yeah, if all
by
those little
that
things are
way,
done and you don't have to do the.
crash cards was done, I would,
You're happy. Okay.
that is just really, it's just very time consuming.
Yeah, and then you're stuck. in
Where, you know,
one
it used to be
task.
you put 2 or 3 things back in there, you lock it, and it was 5
Mhm.
minutes, now it's,
Yeah.
you know, you have to walk and get it and bring it back, and then, you know,
Yeah.
it's just that, you know.
What do you
Yeah.
what do you day shifters think? We're totally kind of changing your job. That's like.
Not really though.
We just did have to work on one day now.
Evan, the second one.
Yeah.
Well, how many meetings do you guys still do during the weekend? You huddle still, and,
Just, yeah, they, surgical doesn't do theirs.
They don't have to do
and the
our
social
two
work one
staffing
doesn't do
meetings.
theirs either, do they?
Oh,
So-
yeah, we do the 9 o'clock. We do the
Oh,
9
you
o'clock
do
and the
do that
1:30.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if on the weekends you're like, oh my gosh, I'm still drowning, like, I don't know if we'll be able to get more, if we can prove that it's needed, then we might be able to get more FTEs, or we'll have to steal from a different department, and so that's why it's really hard.
Well, and Mike was saying today that, or no, it was David, said, now make sure the house supervisors know the reason we're doing this is because our volumes have increased over the last year. We have a lot of volume. If the volume ever goes down, which we don't think it will, we think it will just continue to increase. We're adding more service lines anyway, so we don't think that will happen, but if it does happen, then we'll have to go back to just one,
Yeah.
but we don't think it will happen.
I didn't even hear him say that, I must have been like, didn't wanna hear that, so. Mike's like, why are we even having this meeting, you just do what you want to anyway, Megan. That's really what he said.
He did really say that?
Yep, you did. He's like, I just told David, Megan just does what she wants, so, sure. I was like, it's true, when you tell me no, I figure out a different way. So, that is the plan for now. We won't be able to start this until we fill both those positions, obviously. And so, for right now, we're still just planning on, we should be interviewing. Did you get a call for an interview yet? No? You're supposed to on Monday, but we should be interviewing, hopefully next week for sure, for this position, and then.
So when they did this, did they do a 6 PM report and a 7 PM report to the night?
So
person?
the, floor house soup would just give a report to the 7 AM person. So like, let's say you work the night shift and Lindsay comes in for floor house soup at 6. You give her a normal report, and then Chase comes in at 7, she'll tell Chase what's going on, and he'll take over all the staffing stuff.
But no, at nighttime, who gives?
So then it would be Lindsay again, like if you came
The
back
6
that night.
PM one.
Yeah. The 7 PM one, I guess, could give a report too, huh? We didn't see that part.
No, we didn't
Yeah.
stay till 7 p.m.
To tell you the staffing part. Yeah.
But I think it's just the same thing, you know. Lindsay would still give report to Pamela.
But then at 7, I would have to get report again from,
Yeah, if there
Yeah,
was
the
other little
person.
things. It was so nice because they knew so much about what was going on, so much
Mhm.
more than we thought they would with each other's role. We're gonna get another desk in there, and so you know when the floor house soup wasn't on the floor, hey, I don't know, we'll figure it
we
out.
got rid of that desk and we
I
were
know.
all excited. We got rid of the computer and now we're getting it back.
But yeah, it was really
That's fun.
slick. But it would be nice that they're here for that extra hour, because then you don't get interrupted during report, and then you know the person that called in sick or the person that went to the wrong floor, or you know, the staffers there to help take care of that. They have 2 different cell phones, and so the staff knew to call in sick to the house soup phone, and people knew to call the bed board phone for this, so we have to set up those numbers and get that all going, but, so this will be a little while, but. Okay. Cool, we're excited, I think it will help, I really think it will help night shift too, a lot, honestly.
It was really fun to see it in action. I thought it was going to be way different than it was when we actually got there and saw it. And I went with the one that was doing the resource, and I went and did ICU rounds. And anyway, just
Did what?
ICU rounds.
Oh, brown.
Yeah, and it was just nice. It just ran so smoothly. It was really, really good. Their office is in the basement, back in a corner, so we have a way better office. But anyway, so it was
There's probably less
great.
people to visit them than.
No, they had quite a few. They
Did
they run it a little bit different. They
Mhm.
have different meetings than what we have. So
They still had 2 staffing
Yeah.
meetings, and
yeah,
they don't have
The
case management
hospitalists.
rounds.
no,
We have more meetings,
yeah,
more phone calls, like it was, yeah.
yeah,
I like case management rounds though.
yes.
Yeah, you learn
Really
so
do
much.
Learn so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was good. I think it will be really good. It'll take us a minute.
At one point, they talked about combining the one they do in the PT room with the one they do in the social work room. Have they ever talked about that again?
Not that I've heard. You guys heard that?
That was clear back when I was doing days and nights.
But you know, the one back in the PT room is just the nurses coming in and saying what they think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and letting social work know what, you know, if they need wheelchair or walker, that kind of thing. Is pretty much what that one's about.
But I don't know about you, but it was very seldom that I ever got back to that meeting. I just couldn't get everything done before that meeting.
I think I've only been there twice.
Right.
Since I've been in next.
Right. I couldn't get there. I wanted to go there, but yeah. Anyway, I think it will be good.
Yeah, awesome. I actually want to skip some of these. Oh, Diane, you talk about staffing changes and critical care float and
Okay.
stuff, and then I wanted to talk about throughput if we still have time, because I think it will help these guys.
Okay. So staffing updates, I just have a list of everybody that's.
It's on the back page.
It's on, yeah, it's on
Last
the very
thing.
back. So I just wanted to let you all know where everybody's going, so that, when you're looking for them, you'll see. So Jason Balls has, accepted a spot on IMC, so he's going there in January. Alyssa Wallace is going to the ICU, she has a spot there. Kennedy, is orienting to the ER in January. Alicia Johnson is orienting in the ICU. Hillary Teasley is transferring to surgical as a charge nurse. Caitlin Housekeeper will also be orienting to the ER. Diane Bills and Randy Tuttle will be orienting to family birth. Emma, the tech, on days, she's having some mental issues, and she's asked. So they're trying to fix some of her medications. So she's asked if she couldn't sit for 3 weeks. It's really, 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 really hard. So this is Emma Borsick or Emma Kirk. I don't know how she's listed on our list. I think it's Borsick. Yeah, so if she has to sit, then that's okay. I mean, I'm not asking for you to not ever have her sit if she's your only choice. She's just really going through a hard time. So anyway,
Well, just really quickly, and Muriel, her mother passed away a couple nights ago in Argentina, And she talked to me again last night, she really wants to sit for the next week or so. She's struggling, she can't go back there, she's an only child, so she would prefer to sit and just kinda,
Yeah,
she said that would really help her get through the next week or so.
Yeah. yeah, so all those things,
That's a
I know
day
there
shift,
was a-
Sealy?
No, went out one
She's not
time about Dana
married.
sitting, she said she's fine to not sit.
But she still refuses COVID, so half the time it's hard to
Do something
put her anywhere else but sit, so.
Yeah. So I may have missed somebody. If anybody else wants to add to
I
the list.
told Jason really mad about him going to IMC. He's such a good resource everywhere.
he's amazing.
He wants to be CRNA or something,
Yeah.
so he wants to do the critical care stuff.
Should we have like a list where we have our little preferences if we can, rather than post-its, you know, Dana, Emma, whoever you just said.
Yeah, I don't mind having something like that.
We have a lot of papers, but.
Yeah, I don't want it to be the kind of thing where their names are listed like mental issues or anything.
No, you have to
No.
put reason, just
Yeah.
like currently, like the date.
We just do
So,
like
like-
a current preference list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, current
And maybe it's
preference
not
list.
even hanging, it's like in a binder or something.
Sure,
locked
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the purse in the locked drawer.
Mhm.
Or on a desktop, you know, like it could be it could be something that's continually edited that we,
We
could
could
just
put it in our
reference.
code book.
Will it be updated?
Binder.
You know, like I want,
Right.
you know. So
Who wants
anyway.
to update it?
Well, just whenever we
Have it
find out
lined.
the reason, whoever,
Yeah, we
you know,
can
as soon
just.
as we find out Dana.
Because we find out just as
doesn't wanna
often
be
as she
COVID,
does.
Write
Yeah.
it down there and
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
just whoever finds it out.
Like
Yeah.
Gesundheit.
I don't know how that
Did
happened.
you fall asleep during the meeting? I don't think Megan's had any sleep this week,
So she probably did. Okay, yeah, I'll get it started.
Do you guys want it to be paper or electronic?
You know, when we had the electronic one for the sitters and stuff, it never got updated. It's bad now, but it was well, the one on the board.
Yeah,
But
reprinted
when
it.
it was in the computer, it was not getting done at all. You know, when it was daily, we had to go in and do it, it wasn't getting done.
You can be on the new board with the new day.
Yeah, when there's the new person, they might have time to update stuff like that.
Right.
True. I kind of like written because then like it's easier to quickly just jot
Mix
it
things
down.
out as
Yeah.
we go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a clipboard.
That needs to be another thing, is to update the sitter thing and the new person.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure, cause
Okay.
that is pretty bad.
I know, I didn't
It's
update
those
it this
things
last time.
that
I
are
saw
like,
Lee
just
finally
not
did.
priority
So
that
this
you
is- should be
can't.
good right
the-
now.
The dock dates and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of
That
that
was my
critical
fault.
care float,
Oh, yeah.
you guys know who the critical care float are? Kennedy,
Kennedy, housekeeper, Alicia.
Yeah, Caitlin,
Yeah.
and
And that's the tube system, right?
oh, Cassie.
Mm-hmm.
And so they
The tube system.
should not float out of critical care unless it's their turn to float. So like Cassie would have to go with IMC float dates, so an IMC nurse might float instead of Cassie. So when she's oriented to ICU and IMC, then she'll have to go off their float dates too. So they shouldn't float out of critical care unless it's their turn.
Okay.
So just try to
So-
remember that.
Just a question on
Okay.
that, I know the ICU's gonna have a problem with that, but we're down to the point where there's very few from the ICU that can even float because of their time and stuff. So how are we gonna do that if we only have one or two that can even float and so it's
With the
everything?
3-year thing,
Yeah,
there's only, at least on day shift.
well, on nights, there's
maybe
very
2
few
of
that,
them.
there's very few
But
that
I've been there
can,
for 3 years.
there's very few that can float at night.
If that's really truly becomes an issue, then I'll have to change that policy.
Okay, and, well, like, yesterday in the ICU, there was only one that could float because of all the bonuses, or they were orienting somebody, or
yeah,
they
yeah.
were this or that, and there was one person.
Does that apply to IMC? Like they won't float to IMC either?
If they've been there
Not for
longer
3
than
years?
3 years, they do not have to float.
Even to IMC is my question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they put all
And
the
if,
rest of the
like-
people on a different float date.
me, it was 2 years because I had greater than 10 years experience when I come here, so I only had to do 2 years.
I mean, I get
So
not
they have
sending
that.
them to med-surg, but IMC should be fine, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, it's not. And so, like, there was the one person that could, and, you know, it was not her turn again, but yet she was the only one.
Yeah.
So, that might, you know,
Yeah, I think
we
it
might
was
have
an
to look
issue.
at that.
And I think with the staff, it's like a whole new team almost. In a couple of months, I think we could address it again with unit practice council, but the last time we did, they wanted to keep it that way, with the charges in the unit practice council, but they honestly might think differently now, so we'll have to see. But yeah, so. But yeah, so Kennedy orienting to the ED and, who's the other one? Caitlin
Caitlin.
orienting to the ED. We really don't wanna pull them off that orientation. It was really, really hard to get. So those two, like, make sure you call us before you pull them off
Okay.
orientation, cause it's
Almost
really hard
impossible.
to get oriented to the ED. Yep.
So we're glad that they are.
But luckily, they've gotten a bunch oriented now. So we
Yes.
have a pretty
Yeah.
Their
full
staffing
staff
is,
down there.
well,
It's
and the
really
whole,
good.
the whole thing was that they were orienting so many people, they
Yeah.
couldn't fit anywhere else. So
now they've
we
got-
just
It's a good
waited
problem.
until, yeah, it's a good problem, cause now they have a whole bunch more staff that's
Yeah.
oriented and,
A
Yeah.
good team down there.
yeah.
Yeah, we kept trying to orient somebody to NICU, and they had 3 orienting every shift,
Yeah.
of their own
Mhm.
staff, and
So
so
you
ours
couldn't-
never could, you know.
Yeah, it is a good problem to have. Okay, I know it's 6, so I'll just be really quick. I want you guys to read through this and tell me what you think. So under throughput, we're trying to think of a way to help you guys with getting a bed faster when you can't get a hold of the charge nurses. So we haven't told the charge nurses about it yet, but we wanted you to see it first. So if we already have a bed pre-assigned for the next admit and the charge doesn't answer you within 5 minutes, then you can just put the bed in as you already had pre-assigned. If the charge needs to change the room number later, that's fine. Just so you can get it done, because especially when you're getting 8 calls in between, it's like, I just want to get that bed in there. If we do not already have a bed pre-assigned for the next admit and the charge doesn't answer within 10 minutes, then the house soup can just assign any open bed on the floor. You know, I know sometimes you guys will talk to other staff, what do you think the best bed would be? And then the charge can change the room later if needed, and that's totally fine.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, sometimes like once you give the ER a bed, then they have like within 5 minutes they'll call the floor to give report, and so the charge nurse hasn't had a chance to even tell the nurse that they're getting a patient, and so
Yeah.
it could create a bit of a confusion and
Yeah,
frustration.
there's
Just one risk.
No, it's a
It's
good.
just for us
it's
to
a
be
good thought.
aware of. Maybe we could know which nurse is up next too, so
Yeah.
that we could reach out to that nurse.
And let them know.
Well,
Yeah.
It's not that hard to
difficult-
figure out.
Well, it's
We look at the
difficult
board.
though in some cases, like, not everybody on IMC can
Right.
take a stroke, and
Exactly.
not, you know, different things
Right.
like that.
And
so
we know
it's-
that. And I think we kind of
So-
know too which ones can take strokes or not. I mean, if they're float pool that are new or just oriented there, we know they can't. And if they're core IMC, we know they can.
Well,
But yeah, I'm more thinking more like
maybe
med surge. Like we
if
can walk by
you
and know who's
haven't
next.
got a hold of the charge nurse yet,
Mhm.
maybe just tell the ED, hey, I put your bed in, but I don't know who the nurse is gonna be yet, so give them a minute,
Yeah,
cause you could do that.
but then it's on them. Like we're all trying to meet our time quota, right?
Mhm, Yeah.
But yeah, it's true.
Well, honestly, this thing is like when I filled in his house soup and I couldn't get a hold of the charge nurse, and then 8 other things happened,
yeah.
and then the ER calls me, he's like, what's
Where's
my
my
bed?
bed?
And I'm like,
Right? Yeah.
because
yeah.
I am like, I just suck at being a house soup now, but I was like, this is really hard. If I could put this in within 5 to 10 minutes,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have forgotten it.
Right.
But when I'm like, I texted this charge and it's been 25 minutes now and they haven't
Yeah.
texted me back,
And
yeah.
med surge is
That's
kind of
why
the biggest
Text
problem,
my
right?
phone, make them answer the phone.
they don't answer the phone.
Isn't med surge the biggest bottleneck because they're the ones that have like 6 patients and then are running their heads
Mhm.
off?
It
Yeah.
kind of depends on who the charge nurse is. There are
Oh, for
some,
sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
IMC chargers are all super great on nights in terms of like
Mhm.
answering their
And
phone.
Sometimes in
my
the day
very
they're
favorite
not.
person
Yeah.
to work with And it drives me crazy that I have to stand there and wait while she reads the whole chart before she'll tell me where she's gonna put the patient.
Which is to give her enough time the second you catch wind, because they give us a little heads up now too. Hey, we might be doing a 10. I'll text her and I'll say, hey, review ER bed 10 now.
Come on, Heather, come on, honey, let's go. I need a bed right now, come on, I have 10 minutes. And I'll stand there and
Guess
sit,
what? You guys
come on.
met your goal from when they give you the bed request to
We
when you
did?
fulfill it. It's 15 minutes is your goal,
Uh-huh.
and you're at 15 minutes this last month.
Wow.
That's amazing. It really is, especially how crazy it's been. I'm so impressed. Well, that's not for the holds. That's like you guys putting in what bed they will go to. But still, yeah, that's amazing too with the holds. You're right. So you did good. So just maybe mull it over for the next couple weeks and we can talk about it, implementing it. But that's truly just to help you because I was like, I'm the one that made it so you don't have 12 minutes because.
When did you have Sue?
So,
Oh, I
There's this
can't
one
remember.
about-
Probably a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the month
Oh, okay.
before that I
How-
screwed
is it
up
like
the metrics.
Quarterly? If they,
Just whenever it's needed.
no, I mean like
Oh no, this is monthly.
monthly.
Yeah.
So
I
in
probably messed
November.
up last month's. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's this one about Pleasant View. A couple weeks ago, I don't remember who was on, maybe it was David, I don't know who it was. They told me, and Pleasant View held 3 patients out there. I says, you're gonna have to hold them, I don't have anywhere for you to put them, and so that's what the administrator on call told me to do, is make them keep them out there, and they did. And so they did just fine keeping them out there. It
Yeah,
says
just
they
depending
don't
on the
have,
situation. I think that we wrote this a long time ago.
Yeah.
they don't have
Their
phlebotomy and RT, but
Yeah, their whole thing is they don't like us to say maybe. They want to
Oh.
know, are we going to have one and, you know,
I
about
always
what.
tell them I'll have one, I just need to hold them for a while,
Yeah.
and, you know.
So
It depends
they
what
just
it
don't
is.
like, they don't like maybe. They just like, either we can or we can't. And
So they can start working
Yeah.
on transferring. So.
Well, and I have to remind them, you know, call and talk to me, cause some of these things can go to Brigham City. I mean, not everything has to come directly to us, and
Yeah,
cause
just
Brigham
as
City
close.
will take some
Yeah.
of them.
And when it comes to like Davis ER needing med surge, like do they try Lakeview and Brigham first,
Hmm.
the transfer center?
I don't know that.
Because I feel
Davis
really
does.
bad declining those, but I also don't. You know?
Yeah, you could ask the transfer center. Have you tried
Yeah.
Lakeview and Brigham? Because that's what we would do.
Yeah.
If it was our freestanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what admins told us to do with our freestanding med surge ones. So it's a good idea. Who's working Christmas night? So there's gonna be 70 meals this time.
Mills.
meals.
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 I was like MLs.
MLs.
Of
We gotta
what?
prime up 2 separate syringes. No, 70 MEALS.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Great.
So
Great. So everybody will get
yeah,
one.
so you don't
Awesome.
have to order
Great.
IHOP.
Yeah, that was funny.
Sorry.
We got pumpkin
I
pancakes.
didn't think of women's and children's. Like I totally.
Well, it was also
spaced them.
usually EVS and RT and
Yeah.
you know, the
All those.
doctors in the ER and yeah,
Yeah.
family birth.
I had to order, we did Jimmy John's one night, cause after the picnic, they didn't send up enough for everybody, and I called and I says, how are you gonna feed the rest of the hospital?
Nothing was
and
open.
We got Jimmy John's and we got like 100 meals, and there was only like 25 that didn't get it.
Oh,
So
man.
everybody got 3 meals and I was pretty,
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah.
crazy.
And if there's a meal downstairs, then it is the unit's responsibility to go and get that meal. And they shouldn't be getting mad at the house soup about that, just so you guys know.
What do you mean?
If there's a meal downstairs, like the night there was the meal for Christmas, like our Christmas
Yeah.
dinner. And
The
I mean,
15th, yeah.
again, I got it for IMC and like helped with ICUs and stuff too, and Eric got med surge, but there was a unit that they didn't come down and get it before it was over, and then they got mad at the house soup, and the house soup had to spend $150 of their own money because they were very kind. Huh, Chase?
I just-
Was very kind, but it wasn't his job to go get it, and they were mad at him.
You know,
for
when
looking
they
at it for
have
him.
meals like that downstairs, I just send out a broadcast, meals are
Yeah,
downstairs,
yeah, go
they
get
close
it.
at this time, get down there and get it, send somebody from your staff, and it aides go down there and get a number and
Yeah.
everything.
Which is what
And
should
they
have
do that
happened.
all the
Yeah.
time.
And I
And
actually
so-
did think through all the units. Okay, they all came, and I thought that one did. They were
Which unit was it?
that color, and I'm like, so must have been the wrong one.
Which unit was it?
It was NICU.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
they miss out quite a bit unless I go tell them, hey, are you remembering to send somebody? Family birth is bad about showing up.
No, they have a CNA till like midnight sometimes.
Well, and that's why I sent it, it's there, send
Reminder.
somebody to get it, cause, and so pretty much everybody will get it.
Are they doing ornaments this year too?
Yep.
On what
Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day night? So
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
And I don't know about. I know they're coming at noon on the day. Do they usually come at night too?
Yeah,
Who?
So
Christmas ornaments.
yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
admin. I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
They're all
Well,
in there.
is it
So
actually
Yeah.
the night of, usually it's just the week of,
they're coming on the
Oh,
day.
whatever.
yeah, well, I,
What are you still doing here?
I thought I heard people talking in here. Were you guys having just a riveting meeting?
Yeah, they don't want to leave. You know, like we're just.
I guess it
hanging
is
out
time to
here.
get started.
What a good time.
Do you want to see our cool bracelet stuff?
Yes.
Okay.